Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Kim Sex on another segment of My Mondays. Today's segment of My Mondays, what I want to talk about is something that transpired early on in the beginning of this month for Black History Month. And basically, what happened was that if some of y'all don't watch sports or watch my channel, but some of y'all that do watch sports know that I'm big on sports. But so basically, what happened is former head coach of the Miami Dolphins, go by the name of Brian Flores, filed a lawsuit against the NFL for basically having uneven rules or unfair rules in the hiring process for African Americans. So as of right now, there's only 5 minority head coaches, and the names are, well, I don't know everybody's names, but they are Ron Rivera, the Washington Commanders. Robert Saleh, Saleh for the New York Jets. There's a new coach. I know his name is like Mike Munchak or Mike something for the Miami Dolphins, which is ironic. They hired a minority coach in place of Brian Flores. There's Lovie Smith, who's a new hire for the Houston Texans. And there's Mike Tomlin, the outliner. That's why I like to call him, because he hasn't had a losing season since he became a head coach in the NFL. And I just want to talk about like the lawsuit itself. So I'm gonna just go into details about that, and then I'm gonna also just talk about my thoughts on the lawsuit and the unfair practices of hiring Black coaches, because I'm not gonna say minority coaches, because the league is 70% Black, but it's only 2 coaches that consider themselves African American. I don't think I need to say enough. But like I said about the lawsuit, so his first allegation in the lawsuit was that his owner had his first season had paid him offered him $100,000 just to get a higher draft pick. To those who are new to the NFL process or draft process, the worse your record is, the higher your draft pick is. So if you got the worst record in the NFL, you're going to get the first pick in the draft, who is going to be 9 times out of 10 the best player, the perceived best player, I'll say that. And so he did that. And so he didn't take that offer. He said, no, I'm going to coach my season and we're going to make the best of it. And early on in that season, the team looked pretty bad, like you thought they was the worst team. But towards the back end of the season, they had a pretty good record. And I mean, not a pretty good record, but they still had a pretty solid season for how mediocre their team was. I think they was like 5-11, if I'm not mistaken, which unfortunately to their owner earned them the 5th draft pick. And the guy that they wanted to draft it was actually still there, who they ended up drafting, who was go by the name of Tua Tagovailoa. So that was one allegation. The second allegation was that your Denver Broncos president of VP of operations, who is the great John Elway, and John Elway is the quarterback who has all the glare and the big name in the legacy in the Denver Bronco franchise. This is basically like the franchise runs through him. And so him and another higher upper management person, he said they showed up to his interview late, like an hour late, and he also felt like they was inebriated, intoxicated and stuff like that, like they was out for a long night. And then the last allegation he had was that another coach who was a coach for the Buffalo Bills, he received a text message from his old boss, Bill Belichick, saying that congratulations to Brian. And like I said, the coach that he was talking about, because their both name was Brian, was a white coach who was the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, who actually got the job for the New York Giants. But the thing of it is Bill Belichick didn't know that he was texting the wrong Brian. And the ironic part about that is this was actually occurring hours before Brian Flores had his interview with the New York Giants, which sounds kind of sketchy, because like what people don't realize is, who's new to this channel, Bill Belichick is the creme de la creme of coaches in the NFL. He has clout, so I'm pretty sure he has information that a lot of people don't know. And at the time, like before before, the Giants had previously fired a coach underneath Bill Belichick tree. And so I'm pretty sure he has some type of sources underneath there in the New York Giants organization to know who's going to get hired. And also the Buffalo Bills are rivals. And the other Brian, he has history with Bill Belichick as well. So even Brian Flores, they all have history with Belichick because they came underneath his tree in some way. So that's just a rundown of basically what happened or some of the allegations that's transpiring in his lawsuit against the NFL and also the Ronney Rule. So I want to say is first of all, I feel like my thoughts on the lawsuit. First of all, I feel like the Ronney Rule has failed the African American coaches. Period. I feel like why is it that at first the rule it served its suit? I think the highest number of black coaches there was in the NFL was I think 2006 or something like that, and I think the Ronney Rule happened a few years before that, and it was 8 black coaches. Now we get down to it, like I said, it's only 2, and before Lovie Smith got hired, it was only 1 black coach. And that was Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin, like I said, is an underlier, as an outlier because he's never had a losing season. And so, like I said, I just want to get my thoughts on it and just share my opinion on it. Like I said, the Ronney Rule has failed us. It doesn't make any sense that you got coaches like Eric Bieniemy, Brian Leftwich, Stephen Wilkes. You got what's the coach name for the defensive coordinator from Tampa? Brian Flores. And there's some other prominent black coaches that's out there. They getting interviews, but why they not getting a job? Why they not getting a title? And sometimes, what we don't realize is sometimes the Ronney Rule is just there to check a box, and that's not good enough. If you're just there to check a box, yeah, like I seen on TV, yeah, it's good if you're a coach that no one knows and you just get the opportunity so you know what to work on. But if you're a coach that everybody knows, you're not gonna and you feeling like you're not getting you just there to check a box. Are you really gonna be interested in an interview? I know I wouldn't. But so that's just one of my thoughts on it. Also, I just feel like this: African American coaches, they're not always given fair chances. Like I said, Brian Flores, prime example. His owner tried to pay him $100,000 just to tank the whole season. So if he would have did that, there's no telling if he would have kept the job for 3 years. He probably only would have kept the job for that 1 year because they would have put all the blame on him. So he would have been in a worse situation himself. And it's harder for a black coach to get rehired. Hint the name Todd Bowles. If you look it up, he had one or two bad years in the New York Jets. Went back to being a defensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and now he can't get another head coaching job. He has yet to receive another head coaching job. Whereas you're seeing Adam Gase, he had bad seasons in Miami, which is crazy, which Brian Flores replaced him. And then after his losing seasons at Miami, he still had another head coaching job for the New York Jets and failed miserably at that too. And it's just crazy how you can just give so many examples because I could go on and on. I also feel like the Houston Texans are doing a terrible job at hiring their coaches. They're just using these black coaches as scapegoats because when you look at it, they had a black coach last year who was in a terrible situation. But he took the job because his name wasn't really out there. But basically what happened was they hired him because nobody else wanted their job, and their owner, Steve McNair, had these terrible allegations. Their previous head coach traded away their best player, and then they also was going through a situation with Deshaun Watson. So their PR and all that public reputation was terrible. But they took and hired a black coach. And despite all the troubles that was going on with this organization, like I said, the quarterback was going through things. He still had him in a 4-13 season when they was expected to be the worst team in the league. And they still fired the man. And now they're hiring another black coach because right after Brian Flores had his allegations, they tried to hire Jim McCown. Jim McCown don't have no NFL experience of being a head coach. He don't have no experience of being a college head coach. He's just a high school coach, and he's not even an NFL. I mean, a head coach for that. So where's his head coaching experience coming from? So they just, to me, this feel like, me personally, I feel like they just trying to fill in another slot. So those are just a few examples, and this probably my last example. Jim Caldwell, he did pretty good with the Detroit Lions. Like, Detroit Lions has always been an irrelevant organization, but he brought them some relevance, took them to the playoffs and things like that. They fired him because they felt like they could do better. They hired Matt Patricia, who came under the Bill Belichick tree, and that organization has been a shithole since then. They just hired a new coach last year. They did pretty good. I mean, for their standard. But I'm just giving all those examples just for y'all to see that, like, my thoughts on the Ronney Rule and the NFL hiring processes for African Americans, it's messed up. Like, it's unfair. We giving unfair opportunities, and then we only get one chance. I mean, sometimes we get two chances, but we gotta be the outliner like Mike Tomlin. And I say we because I feel like I have potential to be something great like that. But they're giving unfair chances, they're giving unfair opportunities, but still we still have to keep on fighting. We still have to keep on pushing towards equality in these black coaches getting hired. Like, how is the league 70% black, but only 2 black coaches? And by it being African American History Month, like, how is our greatness is not defined by our work, but defined by our skin? And I feel like the NFL is making our greatness to be defined by our skin and not by our work. And for Brian Flores, I hope your work be perceived as greatness, not for your skin, but your work. And to Mike Tomlins, who is one of the outliners whose greatness is actually defined by his work, there's other examples where your work is not defined by, you're not defined by your work, you're defined by your skin. And I think, like, as we need to take this time, there's other organizations who also need to take steps in understanding that don't hire just to fill in a role and position, because I've seen that before too. Hire because someone is great. Or don't hire someone because they're your buddy, because I've also been in a situation like that too, where I had to outperform someone. Because there's a lot of greatness, not into this, but into this. And if someone can't respect us for this and our abilities, then maybe it's not the organization for us. And so with that being said, this is Kim Sykes doing another segment of My Mondays.